Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Genuine Chit-Chat. This week I am joined by Beth Crane, the co-creator and writer of We Fix Space Junk. Now, if you've been following the show for a while, you know that I've been speaking about releasing this podcast for quite a while now, and I've had it recorded since I think it was sort of January, February time, which is probably the biggest gap that I've ever given before releasing a podcast. But I just had loads of other things to release, and Beth and Hedley weren't like in any big rush to have this released, so I just thought I'd hold on to it for now. So here it is, finally. Now, once again, if you're a long-time listener, you will know that I spoke with Hedley last year, I think it was late last year, about We Fix Space Junk, which is the audio drama that they both make together. So the one with Hedley, I think it's around episode 40. I'll include details in the description. So I think it was episode 40-ish where I spoke to Hedley, spoke about the sound engineering side and sort of what he does with We Fix Space Junk. And now I've got the other side of the coin. I've got Beth, who has a degree in scriptwriting and is the writer of the show. Now, as well as talking about We Fix Space Junk, we talk about lots of other things, like why Beth decided to pursue a career in scriptwriting, sort of joke censorship and reading a room in a sense, why one should always be key to learn, different interpretations of art, as well as speaking about Beth and Hedley's favourite characters from We Fix Space Junk, and also we speak a little bit about Beth's involvement in the Harry Potter films, which is just a little sprinkling tease, so you have to listen to the whole of part 1 to find out what that was all about. Now, Hedley is actually present in this interview. You'll hear him. I say interview, I prefer it to be a conversation, but I've said it now. I was talking to Beth and Hedley was also there. You'll hear that primarily Beth is the one speaking, but Hedley does chime in every now and then. And also my girlfriend Megan is there as well, so you'll hear her occasionally in the background too. So 4 people, mainly 2 though, just me and Beth. Now, We Fix Space Junk they recently released a novella, short novel. It's called Automnicon, The Intern. So if you're a fan of the series, be sure, the audio drama series, be sure to, check that out. I've included a link to that in the description too. Now, just before the show gets started, there's a quick promo by the Ready to Be Petty podcast. So if the promo sounds interesting to you, I've included a link in the description, so be sure to go check that out. And that's about it from me, guys, for now. So, as I always say, like, subscribe, rate, all that sort of general tomfoolery. And at the end of the chat, I'll be back to talk about part 2 and what you can expect in that, as well as a few other bits and pieces, because I don't want to make the intro too long. So, thanks as always for listening, guys, and I'll talk to all of you at the end.
Hey. Are you ready to be petty? I'm Tori, the host of the new podcast, Ready to Be Petty. This podcast discusses, all things petty. Each week I dive into celeb gossip, the ins and outs of pop culture stories, and funny things that are going on in my life. I also bring in guests for some witty repartee. If you are into celebrity conspiracy theories, having opinions about the stars of reality TV, trash talking #Bachelor Nation, and sending out weekly cries for help from the Fab Five of Queer Eye, this podcast is for you. You can listen each week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and basically every other podcast platform. You can follow along on social media via Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at RTBP Podcast. I hope you like it because I've done literally hours of tech stuff, and I have honestly earned a computer science degree, which I know sounds ungrateful and petty, but that's showbiz, baby. And if you don't like it, I will discuss your gracious feedback in my next content strategy meeting, which is just me and my boyfriend sitting in our living room. Anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing what makes you petty.
Welcome to Genuine Chit-Chat, where we have honest conversations with interesting people. And I'm your host, Mike Burton. Today I am joined by Beth from We Fix Space Junk, and also joining us is Hedley once again, and also Megan is in the background over there looking at me disparagingly as well. So we're all here to chat about, We Fix Space Junk and a menagerie of other things. So how are you doing today, Beth?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Got my coffee, got my sofa.
Where's your sofa? It's not mine. Yeah,
I'm sitting on a sofa, and that's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's nicer than a chair. I'm tired.
Yeah, I'm tired too. This is going to be quite an interesting podcast. Been quite busy. I was going to say, why not talk about that now? What have you guys been up to the last week or two since New Year's?
Ooh, most have been writing our show for Pod UK, which I'm very excited about. On the 2nd of February, we're doing a live show at Pod UK at Millennium Point in Birmingham, which is really cool. It's the first UK podcasting fan convention.
Nice.
Which is really nice.
Yeah, you with the live show, is that going to be recorded and you're going to release it on the main channel or main channels?
It may be a Patreon perk. I'm not sure. We're going to see how it goes.
So if it's rubbish, Patreon only. But if it's really good, just like you guys.
Or if it's really good, Patreon.
Oh yeah, it depends how you which kind of game you want to play.
But yeah, no, it should be really good. We've got kind of we've got a guest star from Victoriosity. We've got a couple of cameo voices, and a robot scorpion.
You got a robot scorpion as well.
Yes,
that sounds pretty awesome. I saw that on the Patreon sort of Battlebird Patreon thing. I saw that Hedley was playing around with a new. Was it like a looper, like a voice looper sort of thing?
Yeah. We've got a really fun little device that's going to be. It's like a voice modulator, voice looper, voice effects pedal, basically.
Yeah,
and it's just really cool. We had to play around with it in the shop when we were looking at it because we bought it with Patreon money.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
But yeah, we
wouldn't have been able to afford it.
Oh yeah, it's quite expensive.
Yeah,
but it does the Automnicon voice just really nicely and does a lot of like the AI voices and stuff. So it means that we potentially could be looking at a lot more live shows soon.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to come down to one of those. That'd be awesome. And it's funny as well because when I was talking to Hedley last time, he said that the Automna voice is you.
Yes.
Which I had no idea because obviously the modulation on it is done so well. Because obviously Hedley is just like, because I said to him, I was like, who does that? He was like, it's Beth. I was like, what?
Yeah.
No idea. That's crazy. So with, in the vein of We Fix Space Junk then, when I ask how long ago did it start? Because I know episodes have been around for just over a year, isn't it? But like
nearly a year.
Oh, nearly a year.
I think we released in March. Yeah, early March.
I see.
Last year, but no, we've so the script of series 1 kind of started in June last year, or 2016, 17.
Yeah, last year was 18.
Yeah, there we go.
And we're in 19 now, which is still very... I still can't get my head around that, but...
Yeah,
2017.
Yeah, so I started doing sort of the proper writing process, but I kind of started writing bits of We Fix Space Junk when I was at university.
Yeah. What was that? Did you write that just as sort of a... Was that going to be a project for something else, or was it just kind of fun? Or
I think it was a thing that I was kind of just thinking about on the side. I did a master's in scriptwriting and a BA as well. And basically, while I was there, I had a sort of a lack of self-confidence in my own ideas. So I was like, okay, so I've got to write something meaningful and serious, and it's got to be X, Y, and Z, and do social issues. And then I was like, oh, I'm not very good at that. It's not a thing that I like writing. I like it when it's done well, but I often don't like watching it. It's just kind of, I like to approach issues like that from the other angle and kind of within comedy and stuff like that. So I wrote a lot of very worthy, not very good scripts during that. And then in my downtime, I was writing stuff like We Fix Space Junk, just comedy scripts.
Why did you go into script writing out of interest? Have you been into that sort of thing from a young age? Or was it...
Oh, God.
Destroying the studio.
What was that?
Coffee.
Was that
Oh,
me?
no.
That might have been me. Whoa. Destruction on set. Yep, that was... Was that behind me?
Yeah, I think it was.
That's my fault. I'm going to pause. Take 2 without me knocking over that, which I'm going to move to there.
Yeah. Put that over there.
Danger zone.
And then I will hold this in my hands.
Right. And nothing else. If there's like a sudden earthquake and all those things fall, then it's clear this podcast is never to happen. But
It'll be fine.
we'll be fine. We'll get through it.
I mean, how could you pass up? How many podcasters have podcasted through an earthquake? I mean,
That's a good point. Yeah, that'd be an earthquake podcast special, especially in like London, like as like actual earthquakes you could feel. I don't think has there been any earthquakes in England.
There was the Buncefield explosion, which
that
caused.
wasn't a natural one.
I was next to it.
Really?
Not next to the actual Buncefield. I was like, I got woken up when my house shook and stuff.
Oh wow!
And then I went back to sleep
I was
because
sleeping in my friend's cabin at the bottom of his garden. We were there jamming till late at night, and then went to sleep. And then I thought there was someone outside banging on the side of the shed.
Oh wow!
Like, it was an explosion 10 miles away.
How long ago was that? I vaguely remember being on the news. I think
I was at more than 10 years because I was at school. I was like 14, 15.
That's crazy.
The last large earthquake to affect London occurred on the 6th of April, 1580.
1580.
Yeah.
So we're probably okay.
Yeah, we'll probably... It's very unlikely, but...
It's estimated to have been a relatively large magnitude of 5.5.
5.5, that's fair. I know the magnitude of earthquakes is kind of like... It doesn't go up like 6 and 5. The difference between that isn't the same as between 4 and 5. It's like
it's not
it
linear.
increases... It's like the decibels, isn't it? I think they...
Yeah, logarithmic.
Yeah.
So it's like a doubling of power.
Yeah, exactly.
This could all be interesting conversations.
This is great, yeah. Well, this is it. Maybe I'll keep it in and maybe I'll cut it. We'll see.
Oh, wait, we're still recording?
Oh, I've started recording, yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
There we go. Yeah. You haven't said anything deflammatory or offensive, so don't worry.
You won't hear me anyway because I'm not on my...
Just
You'll
about...
hear me at the back of the room.
In the background, maybe I'll try and boost it a little bit, but...
What's that, Hedley? There's children stuck down a well?
Well, what I was going to ask is essentially, obviously, you said that obviously you got a degree in script writing. What got you into that? Was it from a young age you always knew you kind of want to write scripts and things, or was it quite a niche thing to get? Well, in my mind, it was a niche thing. I haven't heard of someone getting into that before specifically.
I kind of got into it by accident.
Yeah?
In that, well, I've done drama for my whole life.
Yeah.
Just like that was kind of the main thing that I did, apart from read books. And basically, I applied to do creative writing at the University of East Anglia.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have the grades for it.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out I did get them later, but I didn't have the predicted grades. And they were like, but you could do script writing. Script writing would probably suit you because you've done loads of drama and stuff. Like they wanted me as a student, which was really nice, but they were just like, why not do script writing instead? And I wound up in the faculty of drama, which was really nice as well. I think it suited me more than the creative writing one did because it was a bit more nurturing than creative writing, which I think is quite competitive.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how I wound up doing script writing. And then basically as the years went on, I decided I wanted to do the masters as well. My main tutor, Val Taylor, was always fantastic. And I just wanted to study more under her. And we got on very well together. We had 1 hour dissertation meetings that went on for 4 or 5 hours.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so when you were doing that in uni and stuff, did you want to then, obviously you wanted to do script writing, did you plan to do some sort of audio drama, or is it like, how did the birthing of We Fix Space Junk sort of kind of happen mixed with what your standard career is now? Obviously, how did you...
Well, We Fix Space Junk it's complicated because I've always loved audio drama and always loved like audio comedy as well, but didn't really realise that there were podcasts for a long time. And obviously I didn't have any of the training to do any recording at all. I think I had a tape machine that recorded my voice that I very occasionally used and then got self-conscious about because it wasn't very good. And also, it's very hard to just record stuff live into a tape.
Yeah.
It's just sort of committed there and stuff. But so I didn't have any method of recording or anything like that. I put on lots of like little short plays and stuff. But then I got together with Hedley.
Fist bump in the air.
We went on some dates, became a couple, and then
used him for his talent. Yeah.
Well, it took 2 years for us to actually twig that we should do that.
Yeah.
Because we had the studio here, and then we were like, we should do a show. Let's do a show. And then I kind of redeveloped the scripts for We Fix Space Junk. They were very sparse when I first wrote them. They were series 1 started out without. They had Automnicon in as a bad guy, obviously, but they didn't have the Automnicon music at the end or anything like that. There was
no Automnicon voice.
Yeah, there was no Automnicon voice.
Oh, okay.
Just mentioned.
Yeah, it was just mentioned. And then we did sort of a round of recording of that. And then in January, we listened to it and we're like, this isn't quite there, is it? And then wound up adding in Automnicon. Sort of Hedley started making the fantastic music that obviously we're quite well known for now. And that really added so much into the story, and I think made it popular and made it what it is. If it was just kind of the story on its own, it wouldn't be that popular. If it was the music on its own, I guess it probably wouldn't have that much of an audience reach.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of that's how it developed.
Yeah, because I know that one of the main things that I imagine you get from feedback from it, because what I got, especially when I first listened, was how professional it sounds and how it sounds like, because I know Gimlet Media is one of the big sort of podcast audio drama producers, and I've listened to 1 or 2 of their shows, and you can hear that it's good quality. Got a lot of people behind it. There's the Wolverine, The Long Night audio drama, which that's obviously made by Marvel, so that's really good quality as well. And then you listen to yours, and it sounds like it's in the same sort of area of, and obviously because Hedley is a freelance sound engineer, he's got that know-how and he's got all that sort of thing, so it gives you like a boost. And he's got an obsessive
attention to detail as well. We've had quite a few very, very late nights. I think we may have done at least one all-nighter getting everything ready. We're both I'm obsessed with getting the writing right and the voice acting right, and then obviously Hedley's obsessed with getting the sound right. And to the point that occasionally one or both of us has to step back and say, okay, this is too much now.
Yeah, it's quite a common thing with musicians, especially.
4 a.m.
I've got a few musician friends, and they say one of the hardest things is, there's the odd ones that they make demos, and then when they go to the studio, you're in a time, it costs you money, so you generally okay, we're done with this, it's fine now. But there's other ones where they do a lot of their music, more the electronic bands, and then you edit it and create it on your home computer, and then you release it, and they go, you never know what the cutoff point is, because you listen to it 100 times, and every time you listen to it, you go, I could tweak that. And then eventually you just keep doing it, and at one point you've got to kind of put your hands up and go, right, I'm just stopping this now. This is fine. Any further tweaks I do that will take 6 hours, no one's going to notice.
That was the good and bad thing about setting ourselves release dates, is that we forced ourselves to draw a line under episodes. So, for example, there are things in the first couple of episodes of season 1 that we're thinking of maybe doing a remastered version at some later point. And obviously there are little things we'd like to change, but it means it was out there. And it's like, again, you can't win a race you're not running in. No one's going to listen to your podcast if you don't put it out there.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's kind of going, okay, well, this needs to be released by 7 a.m. on Monday the 3rd. You've got until 7 a.m. on Monday the 3rd. And then it's got to be out there.
Yeah.
And obviously during the end of season 2, we had some delays and stuff, but that was just because we had a load of extra work come in, which was a really nice thing, and everyone was really great about it.
Yeah.
Like, all of our patrons were just like, that's okay, look after yourselves, we love you, have a bath and drink a beer. Like, have a sleep.
Do you know that if much of your audience, if they are, because obviously people who don't know either by accent or by know from us, we're in England.
Yeah.
Do you know what sort of demographic, like people from where listen to your show?
I think almost exactly 1/3 of our listens have come from America.
Okay.
Because I think when we hit 100,000.
Yeah, I saw that. That was amazing.
Like, frankly, quite mind-blowing.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it was something like 33,000 of them exactly were in America.
Oh, wow.
Which is quite fun.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a nice thing.
I know the numbers.
Oh, you know.
Hedley's slightly encroaching into it.
Hedley sort of slipped up onto the couch in a slightly sly way to be like,
I wonder what he was doing then.
Sliding on in.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers as such, but I know the... it's America, England, Australia, Canada, Holland.
Oh, okay, nice. I got an email from Chartable, which I don't really use that much, but they said that I was 93rd in Uruguay. In some random thing. I was just like, it was in Uruguay, and it wasn't a subject that I was specifically in. It wasn't like people and blogs or anything like that. It was something, it wasn't sport, but it was something like that. And I was just like, because one episode I've had with one guest has got one tag of, like, and I just got an email about it. I say, congratulations. Like, thank you. Thanks to people at Uruguay. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
I think half my total audience is America, and then about 1/3 is England, and the rest is just scattered. Like, there's like one person in, I think it's the Philippines. There's one person who listens, and then there's a few people in like Australia.
We've got a couple of big fans in Austria. So those guys are lovely. Yeah.
And Wales and Scotland.
Yeah. We're looking forward to meeting everyone who's coming to Pod UK. That's going to be very exciting. Yeah, well,
obviously with Pod UK, you said you're going to do like a live show there. Have you guys been to any other pod conventions, either as fans or as We Fix Space Junk before?
We went to King's Place this year, the King's Place London Podcast Festival, which was really nice. Because we went kind of knowing a lot of the groups there, because obviously we know Unseen Hour, we know Wooden Overcoats, we know Victoriosity. We're quite good friends with all of them.
Yeah.
So we went to see their shows, which was really nice. Hoping to maybe get on that next year, but we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, did you So the way you know these people, was that due to getting into podcasting, or was it due sort of the other facets that you guys explore in your freelancing and things?
Oh, it was getting into podcasting. It was quite interesting because we basically made the series, got the first couple of episodes ready to release, and then I went to a podcasters event that I was actually dreading going to because I can get quite socially anxious, and I was like, I don't know if I'll know anyone. Obviously, I didn't know anyone because but I won't know anyone, and I'm kind of gotta talk to a load of people and be confident. And my podcast is releasing next week, but I don't want to be like too pushy about it and stuff. And then I met loads of incredibly lovely people. I met Liz Campbell. Campbell. Is it Campbell?
Spelt Campbell.
It's Campbell and it's Campbell. I met Liz Campbell, and she's just like the loveliest person. She introduced me to a lot of people in audio drama. She is, I think, the business manager for Wooden Overcoats.
Okay, yeah.
And she's utterly mad and amazing.
They're the best kind of people.
Yeah, so we hung out a bit there, and then she introduced me to Wooden Overcoats, and that kind of started our foray into actually knowing other people doing the British audio drama. Yeah.
Well, that's crazy, because I found that with me podcasting, I launched mine September 2017. So our podcasts are similar in age in that respect. Because a lot of people in the game who've been on it for ages, and other people obviously a lot more new in it. And I was surprised of the community aspect of it, of how I hadn't even heard about it, because before one gets into podcasting, like having your own show, there are a lot of Facebook groups, podcasts we listen to, Podcast UK Network, Pod and Family, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And there are quite a few people in there who don't have podcasts, who are just so into podcasts, they like being in those groups. But when I liked podcasting without actually being a podcaster, I was like, I like these 5 or 6. And I didn't kind of venture that much into the other realms. But as soon as I started podcasting, I met Hedley, and we seemed to get on quite well when we first met. And then all the other people I met, Susie, shout out to Susie from the Casual Birder podcast. She's always organising loads of meetups. I think, did you go to one like yesterday, Hedley?
Yeah, we both went to one a couple of days ago. Oh, no, you weren't.
No, I didn't. I wasn't. I was at work.
Once again, Hedley goes to have the fun of the socialising, and Beth is working away.
Slaving away.
Yeah,
it was really fun. Saw Susie there. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Met a load of new people.
Yeah, it looks like I missed a really nice night.
Oh, you were missed.
Yeah, because that's where me and Hedley met and things. But I did find that the amount of people that you meet who are so cool and really want to either collaborate or help out or just really nice. And in the podcasting, there are a few. I haven't come into contact directly with anyone who's like this specifically, but there is a bit of competition.
Yeah.
But most of it seems to be collaborative, as opposed to trying to beat each other. I mean, there are a couple of people in the Facebook groups who moan about not getting certain numbers or complain about the way certain people do things. And it's just like, I can't really be bothered with that, the politics of podcasting.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is audio drama podcast groups are very different from podcasting as a whole, I think. Like, they're also very different from theatre.
Yeah.
Because obviously I've done theatre and stuff. There's a lot of competition in theatre, whereas podcasting, because it's not competing for ticket prices, it's not competing for
the front row and these sort of things.
Basically, I mean, the best way to find friends in audio drama is to sort of not find friends. Everyone in audio drama is always looking for friends.
Yeah.
Like we I think our success quite early on was because we spent a lot of time on Twitter just chatting with people and like promoting other people, talking about how much we liked other people.
Yeah.
For example, Girl in Space, we did a lot of back and forth with her because she's really lovely. She's really nice.
Yeah.
So kind of, there's a lot of cross promotion when it comes to just talking to people, or just replying to people, talking about things that you have in common.
Yeah. And people like that. People like the personality behind the podcast as well. It's one of those things where it's quite nice, especially with you guys going to these sort of podcast conventions and that sort of thing, and you're not like, I don't know how many people would be like this, but not like, oh, well, my podcast has got this many downloads, yours has only got this much, so we're not even going to talk to you, because there are people who are like that. There are bands who are like that. I've got a few mates who are in bands and playing shows and stuff, and they say there's a headline bands that are way too big for their boots. They won't let people use their drum kit, they won't let them borrow amps, they won't even talk to them after the show, and it's just like, you're not helping anyone, you're just kind of ruining your own reputation.
I mean, that's a thing in audio drama, is if you act like that, there will be people who have taken notice of you doing that.
Like a subtle blacklist.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's not a full blacklist, and people, there's always chances to redeem yourself, chances to kind of learn, like learn how to use Twitter properly rather than doing things that annoy people.
Yeah.
They kind of, there's always people going, oh, these people do that, we're not fans of this, kind of thing. Or like, I don't know, people making jokes that are homophobic or off colour or whatever, and then people, not that this is a thing that I've actually encountered, but kind of people being inappropriate.
In the wrong times, and then once someone voices their opinion on it, not reacting in the proper way, instead of saying, oh, really sorry about that, we'll watch out for it, we'll try and avoid it in the future, instead doubling down and be like, no, you're wrong for me. There are people who can be like that, because I think me and Hedley touched upon that in our last chat as well, of just, there is a time, like, humour's a good point of just, I believe that no humour should be censored, but it has to be within reason, which sounds like a contradictory statement.
And
but
it should be
like,
punching up. Yeah. You should always punch up. You shouldn't be punching down. Punching down is what you do when you want to destroy a subset of humanity. Yeah, and it's all about sort of not only intent, it's obviously how funny it is part of it, intent. And if, for example, Jimmy Carr has one joke about rape, obviously I don't condone of rape, but if he has one joke that's funny about that sort of subject, he is the kind of comedian that really... he pushes the boundaries. He's an offensive comedian, like Frankie Boyle is, these sorts of ones. So one has to expect that sort of thing from him, but there has to be the right amount of it. If he did a whole hour and a half show and all he was talking about was raping, it was like, that isn't funny, that isn't clever, that's just way too much. And obviously, I went to a comedy gig with a friend who, I think she was training in something to do with child protection, and someone came on and just told a load of, basically they'd been on Reddit and looked up offensive child abuse jokes, and then they like listed off about 5 or 6, and we were just sat there with our arms crossed, just looking him dead in the eye, and he got quieter and quieter because just kind of, you've got to pay attention to people's reactions to you, and there's read
the room.
But I mean, I have a very specific sense of humour, and it's not that.
That's understandable. And there is time and the place for certain things. And one thing as well with, is like 9/11 jokes, things like that. Like, I don't personally find most of them very funny, but making a joke about that now on a joke website is very, very different from on Facebook the day after it happens, because there's also, people on Facebook aren't trying to find these jokes. And if you're just listening to like a normal podcast that's not specifically comedy or anything, and then someone starts spouting off loads of really racist jokes, that isn't the same as if you're already a comedy podcast who markets themselves as offensive humour, everyone's going to be targeted, including this set of groups. It's about intent as well.
Have you read any of Frankie Boyle's longer form writing?
I haven't, no.
Oh, he's done quite a few columns. I prefer them to his stand-up, actually. He does a lot of because like, there's a human being behind that. And he is also he's quite a complex person. I think if I recall correctly, don't necessarily quote me on this, I think he struggled with depression and various other things. I mean, most comics have.
Yeah.
But, kind of, he's written some really interesting stuff. But, I mean, a phrase that I think I saw on Tumblr, probably, or Twitter or something, is "the devil has enough advocates," which is one of my favourite phrases at the moment to use.
That's a very good phrase.
When people start saying, oh, well, just being a devil's advocate, and it's like, well, why? Why are you doing that? No one needs you to.
Yeah.
Are you here to create a debate in a room full of people who actually all agree on something? And it's kind of, I feel like it's often, being a devil's advocate is often used as an excuse to say something that is going to get you shouted down.
It's almost like a trying to be more intellectual way of saying no offence before saying something. Just like, no offence, but here's something that's very offensive. Yeah. So it can be used. Yeah. I mean, I agree there are a lot of people who would use that, and there's also a lot of people who then also use jokes to mask true, like, actual intent. I mean, the idea is there's no smoke without fire, I believe, to a degree. If someone but if someone says one, I'm one of those people, I don't find racist jokes funny, but if someone said one, in certain subject times, I'd be like, I just let it slide and not say anything. But then there's other times where it's just not appropriate in any way, shape, or form.
I used to work in a department where one of the people there was... she had the attitude towards people of colour of someone who was about 40 years older than she was.
Oh, I see.
And she used a lot of... She wasn't even... For example, she was a dog trainer sometimes. Had a car covered in giant stickers of dogs and then was wondering why she couldn't sell it. And why someone was like... She was like, but the stickers are lovely. I don't understand why they take $2,000 off the value of the car. Wasn't very bright. But she used phrases like, oh, well, I'm running a course at the weekend training blacks and their dangerous dogs.
Oh, okay.
And it's like,
yeah.
no, that is not okay. And you're working in a public service department where most of the people you're working with are people of colour. And I was at a stage where I wasn't old enough or secure in myself enough to say, oh, I can challenge this. I can say what you're saying is wrong. Shut up.
Yeah.
I can go to HR, etc. Because I was just a temp. I couldn't. And I had a few things like where I was learning to drive at the time, and I would get picked up by my driving instructor, and he would make me sit and breathe for 15 minutes because I had all this like pent up stress and anger from dealing with that and seeing it all day and not knowing that it was okay for me to say anything about it.
Yeah, yeah. That's very interesting.
Yeah. And now I would be straight on there, but obviously at the time I was 18. Didn't really understand that you can just stand up to someone and say that. So.
Yeah, well, obviously you being a temp, and when you start a new job, there's also that thing, you don't want to, in a sense, rock the boat too much. It is obviously an understandable fear for a lot of people.
She'd been there for 25 years or something.
Yeah. I totally understand that. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite an outspoken individual in general anyway. But yeah, I can hear Megan laughing in the background there because she knows it. But I had an argument with someone at work about, she was a woman, she was like 60 something, and she said she was complaining that someone did a complaint about her because she was in a business meeting with, I work in insurance and I'm a broker, and she was in a business meeting with some client or something, and then she offhand mentioned, I think it was like, there was something to do with a French policy or something, and she mentioned something about that they wouldn't do it, and then she said, well, the French should really... Something like they want to help us due to us saving them in the war or something like that.
Oh yes, you personally were fighting in that war.
Exactly. Like literally the 1940s, most of the people in there are actually dead now. And
can I tell you what I initially thought then when you said that? I thought you were talking about the 100 Years' War. Because my brain just went, oh yeah, when there was the 100 Years' War and there was a bit with Napoleon and Waterloo, and I don't know history very well.
No, I know bits and pieces. I knew Napoleon was involved in the 100-Year War, and that's more or less it.
I didn't. I was just guessing that.
I hope you're right, and I am as well, otherwise.
My knowledge of both history and geography is very, very bad. I've tried repeatedly. I mean, my knowledge of science has gotten slightly better. And I'm trying to get kind of more into the practical side of things. What you can't see... obviously you can see it, but what any listeners can't see is that we've got a couple of robot kits open on the floor at the moment.
Hydraulic robot arm.
Yeah. So the robot arm is Hedley's, and then I've bought a set of solar hydraulics, which it's meant for kids. It's like 12 plus, but
You are technically 12 plus.
Yeah, I am 12 plus. I'm more than twice that. I don't know. Also, maths is bad.
Okay. So script writing is definitely
but yeah, I mean that's the thing about sci-fi is that kind of I always want to learn. And do you know Robin Ince?
I know the name. What's he?
He's a comedian. He does the Infinite Monkey Cage.
Oh, I've heard about him. I haven't personally.
So I made some puppets for them a few years ago for their theme song.
Okay.
Which also had Eric Idle in, which is very fun.
I love Monty Python.
I've technically worked with a Python.
Really? Well, because of that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that's pretty fun. But so he is always talking about kind of being uneducated, but always keen to learn more, as in like not having a degree in science, but being fascinated by it and kind of wanting to know more, wanting to know about more sort of the limits of humanity, all the different things we can do, building things, learning things, and that's an attitude that I've adopted more, is wanting to know how things work. I mean, obviously I laser cut things as well, which is kind of one of the many extra things that I do. And I've really gotten into constructing different things that work together from that. And history and geography I'm still working on.
I'm not great with geography. History, I have random pockets of knowledge. I did history as GCSE, but I didn't do that well at it. I just kind of have, if you said to me, tell me everything you know about World War II, it'd be a bit like, oh God, I don't know. But if we had a conversation about Hitler and the Night of the Long Knives, that's a part in the build up to World War II that, is that sort of thing. But
I really wish I'd done history. I had a great history teacher called Mrs. Grundy who was mad. She was, I think, just a Marxist through and through.
Yeah.
And very much not keen on the monarchy, that kind of thing. As far as I can remember, obviously, this is quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
And instead of doing history, which I should definitely have done, I would have enjoyed it a lot. I did IT, which was appalling. It was the first half of it was taught by a teacher who spent the first half of every lesson explaining how to turn a computer on and log in. Because I think he forgot all the time, so he assumed that all of us who had computers at home forgot all the time.
Just coming to IT and just forget how to do it, just sit there and stare.
Well, it's one of those things where you do all your coursework in about 20 minutes and then you sit there playing games.
Yeah, we used to do that in school as well. Yeah, because I did business. I didn't do IT as GCSE, but I did do business studies, and that's still doing work on the computer, most of it, and we'd get it done. Yeah, just last half hour of the lesson, just on Congregate or Miniclip or whatever it was. Yeah, I totally get that. But back to what you're saying with the knowledge thing is, you have a mindset that I admire, and also I feel like I have as well, because when I was in school I liked science, but school kind of ground the interest out of me. Same with geography and history to a degree, but I've always been interested in museums, and especially in England we've got such a rich history and so many awesome castles and things, so I've always had the thirst for knowledge, but not always with the science know-how or knowledge know how to back it up. But I find one thing I don't like with people is when people call other people stupid, because I do call people stupid, so it's partially hypocritical, but in a different way. I don't judge people on their intellectual capabilities or know-how. It's their desire for it. Because I know some people who've got cognitive ability to be smart, but they're so sort of distanced from it. They really are apathetic to learning. They just don't care. They don't want to learn anything new. They don't want to change their mind. They just know what they know, and that's it. And I find that is being more of an idiot than it is if you don't get great grades in school and you don't know how the universe was created, or you don't know, when the world wars were date-wise. But if you want to and you're open to those ideas, that to me is true intelligence, because they're the kind of people who really get things done. You don't get geniuses who are bored. You get people who are driven regardless of their, in air quotes, intellect, because obviously if you know how to teach yourself. Also, a lot of it's to do with background, because one of my best friends growing up was basically, he grew up in a house where they didn't really read books. So he didn't read books, wasn't keen on it. Incredibly, incredibly bright guy. I think he's doing some kind of accounting job. I don't know what he's doing now. I haven't seen him in quite a long time. But he's doing pretty well for himself, I think. But it's just one of those things where I think in a different environment, he'd have been a completely different person. Yeah. Was one of the reasons I'm so into museums and learning is my dad. Like, I remember every weekend we go out for a drive somewhere, and it would be me, mum and dad. And mum was fine with going to those places, but she's more of a good example is on holidays, for example, we'd go to Spain. Dad would go sit under some shade with his guitar, play a bit of music, and then he'd want to go out and explore the culture. Mum would like to sit by the pool, get a tan, listen to music, read a book, which is fair enough. But yeah, I was always much more of I had my dad's sort of sensibilities. Just, I love museums and all those things. And a lot of my friends now do really enjoy those things because, especially with the internet and podcasting and all these other things, they go, oh, I'm actually being taught science and history by someone who isn't a teacher. That's actually really interesting, like Neil deGrasse Tyson's talks or Netflix documentaries and stuff. So there's
an amazing podcast that I've been listening to a lot recently by a friend of ours called Th Ponders, called Accession, which is about, each episode is about one specific piece of art. Okay. So like there's one we listened to recently about Nighthawks. Okay. It's fantastic. Yeah. We were on one of the episodes.
Oh, nice.
We're doing a scene from Hamlet, which is really nice.
Oh, awesome.
But just listening to, you think about it from a completely different point of view, and kind of the episode on Nighthawks, I was crying during it just because it was really good but very touching at the same time, and kind of making you think about art in a way that isn't just visuals. Because I mean, we were watching it. We were listening to it in bed with the lights off. Just kind of after a long day, but when your brain is a bit too frazzled to sleep. Yeah. And kind of picturing things and having that as a very like vivid side of things.
It's like a history lesson.
Yeah.
It tells you all about the context of when it was painted and what things were going on and what had been going on in the artist's life.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, that's one of the things with a lot of the music I listen to is alternative, and some of that can be stuff that's quite heavy as well in some places. I understand that isn't for everyone, but a lot of the time I find that, say, I get into a band and then I quite like them, and then I get into them even more by finding out information and detail around it. One band, just as an offhand example, is they're called Defeater, so like being defeated, but Defeater, and all their albums are just a part of one story, which is about World War One, I think it was.
Yeah.
So the first album is called Letters Home, or one of their first albums, and it's about the dad going to war and him sending letters home to his family, and each song is a letter to his family, and it talks about historical things. And then another album is the mother's point of view, dealing with it. Another one's the youngest son watching his mother go through heroin addiction while his dad's at war. And it's like, they're obviously not emotional in the same way that they were involved in the war, but just that level of art, if you didn't look a little bit deeper into the detail, it just sounds like a cool, heavy sounding album. But you go into it and a lot of the songs make a lot of sense. One of the songs is like 7 minutes long, but it sounds like it cuts halfway through the song and just stops. And what it actually is in that song's context is like the character's walking down some train tracks and gets hit by a train.
Yeah.
But if you just hit the song, it just sounds like it cuts off. But there's all these intricate details, and I find, be it music, be it film, be it some podcasting, a lot of it is about interpretation, obviously, but a lot of context and a lot of stuff that can help one understand things is finding sort of sympathy, putting yourself in the shoes of the person who wrote it. And a lot of art, especially some of the historical context. There's a song by a woman called Leslie Gore from, I think it's the 60s, and it's You Don't Own Me. There's been a lot of, there's a couple of artists that released versions of that. You Don't Own Me.
Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah, well, her original, I love it because it was in a time where women weren't as empowered as they are today, and just a woman coming out and releasing a song and it becoming so huge of her saying, I'm my own person. It's so powerful. Like, the song's great, but that gives a lot more meaning to the song and it makes you really appreciate it more. So I totally am with you there. What sort of piece of art was it? Was it like painted art that you...
Yeah, paintings in museums. I mean, the Hamlet one is a marble sculpture. Carving? Is it sculpture when it's marble? Yeah. So the Hamlet one was that, but it's pieces of art in museums mostly. And it's kind of... There's often a walk through the museum in it and things like that. It's just really lovely.
Nighthawks is the painting of a diner in the night, and there's just like 3 people in it. Quite a famous image.
Yeah, I probably would have seen that. I'll have to...
I didn't know it was called Nighthawks.
I see.
By Edward Hopper.
Yeah, I did recognise the name. I'm sure. Are you about to look it up, Megan? Cool. I've got my little producer here who can look up stuff. You can't wave on a podcast; no one can see you. I'm going to loop on back around then to let's get back to We Fix Space Junk for a bit then. So obviously you released the first season last year, and then the second season finished before Christmas, wasn't it?
Just before Christmas, yeah.
And then you released the Brewsmas Christmas special.
Yes.
And then you've had the podcast, was it the podcast day special with the driving lessons one?
Yes, driving lessons.
Which
and
is
also
hilarious.
Harrelson's first Brewsmas.
Yes, and Harrelson is my favourite character.
I love Harrelson.
It's just, I just find any character who yells most of the time hilarious. I don't know what it is. I know in Monty Python, to go back to that, a lot of their sketches was just normal things, and then it gets more and more crazy, and as it does, they just get louder and louder, and they're like shouting out just the most ridiculous things, and I love that kind of humour.
Yeah,
so.
Harrelson turned out of nowhere while I was writing.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was not planned. Basically,
Unplanned baby.
Yes, pretty much. I basically, when I was writing Marilyn's Diary, it was originally just going to be monologues. It was just going to be Marilyn on her own. And then I was like, I could get James Carney to be the AI for Jolt's ship. Cool, he can turn up in series 2 at some point. And then I started thinking about it more and was like, actually, he'd be there while Marilyn's there. And then I got excited and started just improvising stuff. Because I wrote Marilyn's Diary without a clear idea of where I was going. I had a very rough idea and actually wasn't the original plan at all by the end. But just by writing the dialogue, I kind of went a lot more heavily into the idea of artificial intelligence, how AIs reproduce, which was kind of fun.
So with that AI reproduction thing, is that from other sci-fi things that you've looked at? Is that actually real, or is that just...
That's just how I think it would work.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, from what I can... Obviously, you're a fan of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and there's a lot of other sci-fi things I'm sure you're a big fan of to influence you on We Fix Space Junk. So it is something that I hadn't even considered, really, about... Obviously, in a lot of shows, you do get AI, and you get other AI, like one of the probably most famous ones, maybe arguing they're not AI, but it's like C-3PO and R2-D2 in Star Wars, mainly C-3PO is like this thing. And for the older Star Wars films, they don't really go into it. But with the new Star Wars films, and more so in some of the comics and the books, they've gone more into AI. And there's a C-3PO comic about him questioning the value of AI and some of his robot companions sacrificing themselves for him to live
red
on.
arm.
Yeah, exactly, the red arm story. Yeah, and it's all this, and it's really deep, and it's just like this. Because of AI is obviously in the, sort of the social sphere of talking points at the moment. It's very interesting for how works come across it. And as I said, I've never considered it, but the way yourselves have done it in We Fix Space Junk it makes a lot of sense, and it's a really brilliant way of doing it, actually. And it's good to have sort of Haroldson and Harold's computer. Is that his?
Yeah, Harold's computer and Haroldson. Except Harold Computer, it's not his name.
No, because he always says it's not his name, doesn't he? Yeah. So the in-joke. But those two of being similar enough while still being their own person and explaining it in that way is brilliant, to be honest. Yeah. I thought it was brilliant. So what are your favourite characters in We Fix Space Junk? I love Hedley as well.
I like them all for different reasons. I mean, I think the funniest setup is probably Haroldson and Marilyn and Harold Computer. I think those are they're all just very dear to me, though. Like, Kilner and Samantha are kind of just, they've grown so much since I started writing it. And in fact, since my first conception of the idea of it, where Kilner was the main character, Samantha turned up for 2 episodes and was annoying. This is in about 2010.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, a long time ago. But yeah, kind of the fact that she's developed from someone who's there to be annoying and then probably die to a character who is pretty beloved, is learning and growing and becoming something entirely new.
Especially in the one. Is either one of the most recent episodes, or was the Brucemas one? I can't remember which one it was, where she has to do something for herself. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't fully got caught up, but she has to do something for herself, essentially. Was that? I can't remember if that was the Brucemas one. That was into season 2, yeah. And it was quite nice seeing that idea of it with her sort of growing as a character, especially compared to season 1. Because I listened, I mentioned the one with Hedley, I listened up to halfway through series 2, and then I started again because I got Megan into it. And so we just watched it from the start, or listened to it rather, can't watch it, from the start. And then it made me realise a lot of the characters and how they do change. And there are certain little details of the world that I'd kind of forgotten about and hadn't picked up on. So it's a rich world in that sense as well. What about you, Hedley? Do you have a favourite at all? Or?
I don't know. Marilyn is definitely up there. Yeah. She's just hilarious.
And we also miss Fran a lot.
Yeah. She recorded that on her last day in the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So she's back in America now.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the land of Book of Mormon, Salt Lake City.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, I think she's in a show called My Big Fat Utah Wedding.
Oh yeah, she's got
something at the moment, which is fun.
Oh wow, okay.
she's an amazing musical.
She's an amazing singer.
Yeah. She's an amazing singer, amazing dancer, just generally amazing.
Was she the one who was involved with the musical you guys
People's
did?
Rock, yes.
Yeah, because Hedley touched upon, we spoke about that quite extensively on the last one, and that's where you guys met her, wasn't it, initially?
Yes, yeah.
It was open auditions for the musical.
Yeah, and she was fantastic. She blew her friend else out of the water. I think. I hate auditioning. I find it very stressful. I don't like turning people down.
Yeah.
So I was not involved in auditioning, but I heard that she was amazing, basically.
Yeah. Well, linking into sort of auditioning then, I'd be interested in with voice acting, because obviously you're the scriptwriter of this, and obviously Hedley's the sound engineer, and together you make the team that creates We Fix Space Junk, but you're both obviously in the show itself. Obviously Hedley as Joel and yourself as Kilner. What did you yourselves, have you been in other voice acting things before? Have you always wanted to be in voice acting? Was this just because it's easier for the two of you to know where it's going? Like, what's the sort of
I trained in acting UEA, and I like the sound of my own voice. that makes sense. Just kind of I like the way my voice sounds, and other people do as well, which is nice.
Yeah.
And I did a couple of voiceover-y mini job things. And I get
very, very useful to have your main character live in the house.
Yes.
I was going to say, it must be
when you need to retake and rewrite.
Yeah, I can just tweak things.
Yeah.
But also
we did voiceover.
Oh yeah, I did voiceover for my old job. I did a bit of that. And I get stage fright. That was what I was going to say, is that I I get stage fright on stage.
So you don't like the visual side of it, but you like the audio side. So where better?
Yeah.
Voice acting, of course.
Yeah, I panic and forget lines. But obviously, with audio drama, you can have a script in front of you. That's how we usually record.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's also a thing of if you're recording obviously with normal, if it was like acting with the argument between like film and audio drama, for example, audio drama, from what I can recall with you guys would probably be, Hedley you guys in the booth, Hedley producing it, and there's like 4 or 5 of you maybe around, if that.
Oh no, less than that.
So it's
usually 2.
So it's just the 2 people having a conversation, and so with that compared to like a film, which is obviously not on a stage, there's the whole audience and all the crew and everything. Or the film, it's not as much of an audience, but there's still way more crew for everything else. Whereas audio drama, even if you mess up quite a bit, as it's your show, it's like I'm having a bad day. I'm with the producer, so we're not. If he is getting frustrated, it's not like an actor being unruly and being like a pain or anything. Yeah,
it's interesting because I did film a bit when I was a kid. I was in the Harry Potter films as an extra.
Yeah. Hedley mentioned that, and someone else who was. Did someone else have one line or something in it that you were friends with?
Oh,
someone who was in it and got cut.
Oh, that was it. Sorry. Yeah, but they're in the Warner Brothers studio tour, aren't they?
The Wanda's in the tour.
Ah.
Who?
I can't remember.
There we go.
She's a named character who has lines, whose Wanda's in the Harry Potter experience, but was cut from the actual film. She's in the book.
There you go.
Beth told me this, and now I can't remember.
Apparently, it's going to be fabrication now.
Maybe I was talking to your sister about it.
Yeah, I think it might be one of my sisters.
Maybe.
Yeah.
They look the same.
We don't look. For context, one of my sisters is blonde and the other one is ginger, and I have quite dark hair.
Right.
And we are twins, though.
Yeah, they don't look even related.
I mean, they're twins with each other, not with Beth.
Yeah, they're not my twins. They are younger than me.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, we were all in the films on and off, which was pretty fun.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see she's wearing, Megan's wearing Deathly Hallows earrings at the moment. So, well, with voice acting and things, would you guys, let's say 10 years, you could somehow get your life to go exactly the route it would go on? Maybe if We Fix Space Junk becomes the biggest audio drama ever and that's just your main job, or...
You mean when, not yet.
Well, yeah. Well, hopefully when. Yeah, then I can be friends with the cool kids at the top of the chain.
Yeah.
But it would be... What's the sort of... Not only the ideal goal for We Fix Space Junk and in general you're kind of progressing in life, but would you also want to venture into other things with voice acting or anything else? It's quite a big question.
I really like voice acting.
And that's the end of part 1. Thanks as always for tuning in, guys. Part 2 will be released next week, as my regular schedule was just a weekly thing. In part 2, the chat starts with Beth talking about the future of We Fix Space Junk, potentially delving into sort of other mediums and things. Beth also talks about the other podcast she's actually currently working on, so it's going to be interesting if any of you are fans of We Fix Space Junk to hear about what other projects may be sort of on the horizon. We also talk about loads of other things, the importance of not undervaluing your impact on other people, as well as like future merchandising for We Fix Space Junk, like a board game is mentioned, as well as, the lore and the universe of We Fix Space Junk and loads of other things. So if you enjoyed part 1, you're certain to enjoy part 2 also. Obviously, at the start of the show, I did mention that there's another chat with the We Fix Space Junk team. I spoke with Hedley Knights. I believe that was episode 40, so be sure to go check that out as well if you enjoyed this chat. So you've got a nice 2 sides of the coin of the both geniuses who created this amazing show. And that's about it from the We Fix Space Junk sort of side of things, except for they've essentially released a novella, a short novel, and I've included a link to that. You can get it on Amazon and any of the usual places you buy books or ebooks, that sort of thing. So check that out if you want to get an expanded view on the We Fix Space Junk universe. Yeah. Coming up in the next few weeks, I'm not fully sure. I've got a podcast recording Monday. I've got another one, I think, like Tuesday or something. I'm guesting on someone else's podcast as well. I've already got a 2-part one recorded with Rochelle Lawson, the life coach, and she's fantastic, and the chat I had with her was brilliant as well. That'll be another 2-parter. And also, if you haven't checked it out, I really implore everyone to go check out sort of last week's episode. I mean, last week was part 2 of it, so probably like the part 1 of that. But I spoke with a gentleman called Alton Wheelhouse, my accent, and he basically created a new tabletop RPG game called Dimensions. There's a link to that in the description of the Kickstarter they've got. If you click on the Kickstarter link and donate, or rather fund it, because you do get things back, it's not just a donation, you get the game or stickers, anything depending on what the level of you want to fund by. If you click on the link in the description, it gives the Genuine Chit-Chat a small percentage of that. No pressure if you want to use that. If for whatever reason you don't really fancy using the affiliate link, then you can just Google Dimensions Game Kickstarter or go on the Facebook page Dimensions Game, and you should be able to find it quite easily. But yeah, I really implore anyone who's a fan of like Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that to just listen. I mean, even if you're not the biggest fan of Dungeons and Dragons and you just are kind of, for lack of a better word, nerdy, like I would describe myself as, it's a really good chat of just hearing someone who's really, really passionate about something, who really has essentially a product, an idea that could change the game. So I think it's really interesting for people to go check that out if you're into, obviously people listening to this I would imagine are into sci-fi and fantasy to some degree, and I think in this chat me and Beth actually spoke about Dungeons and Dragons as well, so it's a nice little connectivity and things there. It wasn't planned this way, it just seemed to have fluked this way, but yeah, go and check out that chat if you haven't already. That's just about it from me, guys, off the top of my head, what I can think of. So I'm more or less going to leave it there. You know, as I always say, check through the back catalogue, because relatively speaking, every guest is different. There's a wide variety of topics that are spoken about with a huge variety of guests of different nationalities and obviously genders. So I say a wide variety of genders. Currently, there's only been the 2. But, you know, there's quite a lot of different guests that I have on the show. You know, if you enjoyed this chat and you don't think I'm a terrible host, then check out the back catalogue, see if there's anything else you like, or see if there's anything else anyone else likes. You know, my podcast might be a good way to get people who you want to get into podcasting just by like sending them an episode or 2, just to kind of see how they feel about it. But that's going to be it from me, guys. So, you know, rate on iTunes if you feel like it deserves it. Share on social media and things. Spreading this via word of mouth and social media means a huge amount to me, so I really appreciate that. And yeah, that's it, guys. So thanks as always for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you listening, especially all the way up to the end. And I'll talk to all of you next week.
Hello, traveler. My name is Alton, and I'm the lead architect and game designer for Dimensions, the D6 RPG. I'm so excited to let you know that our Kickstarter has finally gone live, and that you can not only support us, but also this show by checking us out in the link provided here in the description. I am so excited to see what you're able to do with our system, designed to help new players learn how to play and experienced players learn how to teach and enroll new players into the games that we love. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey, for supporting us and this program, and make sure to check us out at dimensions.games if you're looking for more information. With that being said, I look forward to joining you in Worlds Without End. Thank you.